for joining us on Uncork PA. Summer is a great time to spend some time traveling around Pennsylvania, including Pennsylvania wines and wineries as part of your trip. Hi, I'm Missy Wilson, a wine lover and second generation winery owner at Cedar Ridge Vineyards in Kutztown. I'm so excited to talk to you guys about the vineyards, the wineries, and of course the wines that make up this great state of Pennsylvania. This week we're going to be talking about one of my favorite styles of wines, rosé. I tend to prefer red wine over white wines, so summer heat and humidity, especially these last couple of weeks, makes it really difficult to enjoy a full-bodied red while sitting on the porch in the sunshine. Rosé is a great option for those red wine lovers looking for a refreshing glass of wine. The great part about rosé is you can enjoy the same beautiful flavors that you get off of a red wine, strawberries, the cherries, the plums, but without all that full body tannins that go along with a lot of red wines. Rosés are found all over the state, made from a variety of grapes and have a range of sweetness levels. They go from dry to sweet to anywhere in between. Make sure you visit the Pennsylvania Winery Association's website at pennsylvaniawine.com to check out the wine lists of wineries that are located near you to see if they carry any rosé. The website has great contact information for all the wineries throughout the states, website, email addresses, phone numbers, as well as information about their tasting room. So today we're actually going to be talking with Molly Kelly, an extension enologist with the Penn State University, in addition to Darrin Scott from Felino Estate Winery located in the Lehigh Valley. Well, since I've been in the wine industry almost 20 years now, sometimes I forget that everyone doesn't have the same knowledge that I've acquired over the course of years and years of being around wine. So one great way to get additional wine knowledge is talking to your servers behind the tasting bar when you visit a winery. Another great way is by listening to podcasts like this one as we talk to experts in the field. So I'm really happy to bring on with us today Dr. Molly Kelly to give us a little bit more information about rosé, how they differ from white and red wines, and some great things to look for when picking up a rosé based on the wines that you're currently enjoying. So thanks so much, Molly, for coming on today and talking rosé with us.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Missy.
Yeah, wonderful. So let's start with the easy question. Your background. How did you get into the wine industry?
Well, my background is in clinical microbiology, but I decided that I wanted to be a winemaker. So later in life, I went back to school and graduated, and since then have been teaching. I've worked as a commercial winemaker, and then I got into extension.
Wonderful. So, talking about extension, you currently are the extension agent for us at Penn State. What exactly does that mean for everybody who's listening?
So in extension, our mission is to deliver science-based education to the community. So I don't actually teach at the university. I work with the Pennsylvania wine industry. So my job is to serve the technical needs of the wine industry. And so if you go to the website, extension.psu.edu, so it's not only the wine industry. Extension deals with 4-H, with horticulture, with animals, and you can just see all the different programs that are available to you through extension.
Wonderful. So, we're blessed to have you as the wine extension agent, which means you've talked to wineries throughout the entire state. So, we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is rosé. So, rosé actually has a lot of different kinds of grapes that are associated with it. We have white grapes that make white wines, such as Chardonnay, and then you have grapes that make red wines, like Cabernet Franc. Where does rosé fall into this mix? And when a winemaker is actually working on making a rosé, is it more similar to like a white wine, or is it more similar to a red wine?
So making rosé is more similar to white wine production. So with reds, they're typically crushed and fermented on the skins. That's why they're deeper in color. That's why they have more tannins extracted into the wine, versus a white that's typically crushed and then pressed immediately. So you're fermenting juice with no skin contact.
Great. So, like for example, with Chardonnay, you would get white juice from because the grape itself is white. What actually makes the color and the color difference? Because rosé can actually be anywhere from a really pretty pale pink to more of a darker like cotton candy, or even a deeper hue. Where does that color difference actually come from?
A lot of it is style driven. If you look at some of the Provence rosés from France, they're almost salmon in color and very pale. And that comes from limited skin contact. So the anthocyanins that give wine its color are going to be extracted from the skins. So the longer the skin contact, typically the deeper in color it will be. Some rosés are made simply by blending a red wine and a white wine. And so you can play around with the color as well. And some winemakers, if they don't get the color they want in their rosé, will simply add a darker colored variety to it to enhance that color.
So basically, when it comes to wines in general, most of the grapes that winemakers grow, if they were just gonna press juice right away and squeeze out and ferment, what color would those wines be? So, like, even if you took say, like a Cabernet Sauvignon, which people know is really deep and dark and red, if you decided to, hey, let's skip skin contact, would that be more similar to like a white wine?
It wouldn't be as pale as a white wine. You're still going to get a little bit of maceration of the skins during processing, but very, very pale. That's why you see the white Merlots, right? And white Zinfandel, of course. But
Perfect. Okay, so rosés, it's kind of something a little bit fun and different. A wide, like what you had mentioned before, wide variety of grapes can be used in order to make a rosé. What are some of the more popular grapes if people are looking for something in Pennsylvania? What do a lot of Pennsylvania winemakers use to make a rosé?
so what I've seen in Pennsylvania, it's all across the board, but a lot are Chamberson. A lot of them they can be blends, right? So they can just be a varietal. It could be Chamberson, it could be Steuben. I just tasted last weekend a sparkling Steuben rosé. People are blending Pinot, Merlot, Cab Franc. I've seen Cab Francs made as a varietal. So it's all across the board. But I've seen a lot of Chamberson.
So, rosé sometimes gets a bad rap. A lot of people are really nervous about trying a rosé because the first thing that comes to their mind when they think of pink wine is something similar to a white Zinfandel. So, what is a white Zinfandel, and how is that a little bit different from, say, a lot of other rosés that you might try along the way?
Okay, so a white Zinfandel is made from the Zinfandel grape, which is a red grape. And it kind of got a bad rap back in the 70s, when Sutter Home came out with white Zinfandel because it was sweet. But it could be made darker if it had more skin contact and didn't have either the fermentation stopped, so you had residual sugar, or added sugar at the end of fermentation. So they're sometimes referred to as a blush. So if you see a blush wine, it's typically a sweeter wine, but rosés can be bone dry. So, and really nice and fruit forward. And
So basically, if you are afraid of trying that white Zinfandel, trying a rosé because your memory is college and box wine and white Zinfandel, and you tend to go drier nowadays, there are plenty of options out there for you.
yeah, and a lot of the rosés that are being produced here in Pennsylvania are dry. And so don't be scared to try them thinking, I don't like sweet wines, because a lot of these it's based on the fruit, right? The aromatics and flavors come from the fruit itself. So you can taste a wine and think that it's sweet or has some sweetness to it, but that's just actually the grape expressing itself.
Which
So
is great to know that, like, even if you think you like a semi-sweet wine, it's really not necessarily the fact that you're looking for the sugar in it. You're just looking for the fruitiness, and some
right.
grapes have that fruitier feel than other ones
Yeah.
do.
And it's so surprising, just both in the aroma profile and the flavor profile. You can taste a dry wine, which is considered 0.2%. Some say a little higher, but you can taste a bone dry wine and you just get that fruit coming out. That's a well-made wine.
So, whether you enjoy that drier style wine or the sweeter, there's definitely rosés that you can enjoy. But in addition to rosés, I actually, two of my favorite things are rosés and sparkling wine. And the great news is that you can enjoy them both at the same time.
Right.
So we have drier and sweeter styles of those as well. So if somebody is like looking at a sparkling wine and either they like that drier style wine or they like that sweeter style wine, what's something that they can see like on the label that might they can maybe realize like, oh, I like something sweeter, I should go with this, or I like something drier, maybe I should head this direction.
Yeah, typically, Moscatos tend to be on the sweeter side. If you're purchasing in a tasting room, then you have the advantage of the tasting room personnel pointing you in the right direction. And again, don't be afraid to try something outside your comfort zone, for a little bit drier. And you're like, wow, this really doesn't taste, too dry for me. So it has some sweetness to it. Nowadays, since dry rosés are so popular and gaining in popularity, people will put that right on the label, dry rosé. So the consumer knows that. Some people on the back of the label will put a sweetness chart with a slightly sweet, sweet. So, and some even put the residual sugar on there. Again, 0.2% or lower is going to be bone dry. Anywhere from 0.5 up to 1, a little off dry. And when you get up to greater than 5%, it's going to be sweet.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for all this information today, Molly. I think it's really important for people to kind of feel comfortable about the wine. And I think that everybody really has gained a lot more information about rosé so they can feel comfortable going out and either buying that bottle directly from the wine store or going into a tasting room and having a little bit more comfort in putting that on their tasting list of something they want to try. So thank you so much for all this information, Molly.
Sure, there's great rosés in Pennsylvania. Get out and try them.
Yes, there are. Thank you.
Thanks, Missy.
Uh-huh. So if you're not ready to spend a bunch of time on your computer trying to research rosés that are near you, there's this great nonprofit called PA Eats, and they pull together a list of wines that are 10 amazing wines throughout the state of Pennsylvania, rosés that you should try. So if you just go to paeats.org and search rosé wines, you'll get a list of the 10 of them. And the great part about them is the ones that they list all are a blend of or individual grapes, blends of grapes or different grapes themselves. So you'll be able to try them, see the nuances between them, and figure out which grapes you actually really enjoy in a rosé. Some examples are Chadsford Winery, which is in the southeast part of the state. They produce their rosé from Steuben. Gallon Glen, which is in the Lehigh Valley, has opted to use Chamberson. Mountain View Vineyard in East Stroudsburg actually uses a blend of Catawba and Baco Noir to create their Wild Mountain Rosé. And Wayvine Winery near the PA-Maryland border actually decided to make their rosé from Carmine. So there's a whole lot of options for you. And don't forget about the sparkling, like we had mentioned. You can find drier rosé sparkling wines that are typically made from things like Pinot Noir. Or if you like something sweeter, look for that sparkling Muscat or Moscato. If you would rather do the research by yourself, the best way to find wineries in your area and do the tastings is to utilize that Pennsylvania Winery Association's website, which is pennsylvaniawine.com. The wineries offer something amazing that the state stores don't. You can actually sample a lot of the wines before you decide to buy a bottle. You can try a few types of rosé, figure out the kinds that you really enjoy. So then that way when you walk into a Pennsylvania winery or you go into the state store and you see Pennsylvania wines, you know exactly which grapes you love, especially when it comes to the version of a rosé. So PennsylvaniaWine.com has this create your own itinerary feature. So you can actually search for wineries near your house or where you're going on vacation throughout Pennsylvania. And it's a perfect tool for planning all of your wine outings. So we're ready to try some rosés and you don't want to do all the work. What we're going to do is a great option for you to visit is actually Felino Estate Winery located just outside of Kutztown in the Lehigh Valley. It's easily accessible off of I-78 and the great option is they have several different rosés available that you could actually even just do a full rosé flight. So we're excited to have with us today Darrin Scott, the winemaker from Folino on. So
hey,
Darrin, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so Darrin's actually a neighbor right down the way, grows their grapes in the Lehigh Valley, and they have a beautiful vineyard as well as a great wine selection. So first question, how long have you been in the wine industry? How did you kind of get into it? And where are the places that you've worked in the past?
So how long have I been in the industry? I really don't know. I just started working in vineyards when I was younger and just kind of moved up through there. When I was finishing up my degree at Penn State in food science, I did my first harvest at Cedar Ridge, which was Blair Vineyards then. Mm-hmm. Since then, I moved up to the Finger Lakes and I worked at a winery called Ravine's Wine Cellars, which is pretty much where I got the backbone to what I know now. while I was up there, I did a couple of harvests overseas. I did a harvest in New Zealand and a harvest in Tasmania. And then in 2020, I joined Felino Estate.
Wonderful. So you've had the opportunity to kind of work all over the place, including the Finger Lakes, which a lot of people feel like is the destination to go to, whereas Pennsylvania is a little bit closer and has as much of an option. So, what do you think the major differences are between the Finger Lakes and what you've done for the few harvests that you worked up there, compared to being back in Pennsylvania again?
So there's certainly differences between the two regions, and it extends beyond the fact that we harvest basically the same grape about a week and a half before they do. But we're a little bit warmer, and it means that we can ripen certain varieties a little bit better than they can. At the same time, they also work a little bit better with some cooler climate varieties than we do compared to them. So, um, yeah,
Okay. So you have a lot of different. So, what would you say some of the main grapes up there are compared to like some of the fun things that we can do down there that they might not be able to do in the Finger Lakes?
yeah. So they work with a lot of the same grape varieties that we do for the most part. A lot of Pinot Noir, Riesling, Cab Franc. Those are like the big three. But beyond that, we're able to work with some varieties down here that they can't really work with too well up there, like Syrah or a Nebbiolo or some more of your more obscure varieties.
Wonderful. So, let's go back to talking about rosé. So, if people are looking to try a few rosés all at one time without having to go to several different wineries, Folino is a great place to head to because you have several rosés actually on your tasting menu. So, can you tell us a little bit about each one that you have and how they're different and what they kind of bring to the table?
Yeah, so we do a fair bit of work with rosé. I think it's a underutilized tool here in Pennsylvania. Um, Starting off, we have Felino Tradition, which is our Vino Rosato, which is kind of an off-dry rosé. It's really a blend of Chambourcin, Cab Sauv, Cayuga, and Muscat. It's a little bit sweeter, but very fruit forward. In addition to that, we have two different sparkling rosés. We have our Rosato Bolcini, which is a forced carbonated sparkling rosé, and that's made with Cayuga and Cab Sauv. And then we have our Rosato Frizzante, which is a blend of Nebbiolo, Torreldigo, Chambourcin, and Cayuga. And that is a Charmant fermented, so it's tank fermented, a sparkling wine. So it's a little less fruity and a little bit more of a intense bubble structure. And then I'm happy to introduce our new Rosato Secco, which is a dry rosé, which I made from strictly Pinot Noir from the Lehigh Valley.
That's great. So you kind of have a little bit of something for everybody. You have the drier rosé for people who like something a little bit drier. Then you have a little bit of a sweeter version. And then, of course, my favorite, you always should be able to add bubbles to everything, which is the sparkling, two different options for sparkling rosé, which is perfect. So in addition to these four rosés, what are some of your favorites that you currently have on the tasting list that you think people should come out and try when they visit you?
So we have a pretty extensive tasting list. We like to welcome everyone that comes to the facility and have a wine for them. We've been known for our reds in the past, but me coming from a Finger Lakes background, I have a pretty strong background in whites as well too. But some of the locals that we really enjoy are Chambourcin. We have a really great Traminette, which is a French-American hybrid that is a big crowd pleaser for us. Cabernet Sauvignon is one of our big sellers. I'm really enjoying our Pinot Gris and our Chardonnay, so we pretty much have everything for everyone.
So, you also have a really nice sized vineyard on site that people, when they come and visit, can really see your beautiful vineyard as well. You actually have some things in your vineyard that not everybody really has in the area, especially being a little bit more of that Italian background with your winery itself. So, can you tell us a little bit more about some of the fun things that they might be able to experience at Folino that they might not see at other Lehigh Valley wineries?
Yeah, so in the wine world, we're kind of a small peanut. We're a young and up and coming region, and it's extremely important for a region like us to experiment and try different grape varieties that are to find out what's ultimately suited best for us. And with a Italian background, both Marco and Andrea have Italian backgrounds and strong connections to Italy. We looked at Italy and their 350 plus different varieties for some inspiration on different things to try. And whether you're looking northern Italy, middle Italy, or southern Italy, we picked a couple, and we pulled out Sangiovese, Terreldigo, Nebbiolo, and Barbera. And yeah, you really don't see those in too many vineyards around Pennsylvania, but they're definitely worth trying. Some of them definitely fit into the rosé market, and yeah, it's really just learning and experimenting and trying to find out what's best for our region.
Which is true. I mean, the Lehigh Valley, it's a great growing region for grapes. There's actually a lot of vineyards we're very blessed to have. But I think everybody's kind of been doing the same thing, which is fun. Trying new grapes and new vines and new varietals, and giving people in Pennsylvania an option to try something that they might not necessarily see on every single tasting list, which is exciting. So if people are interested in visiting Folino and enjoying an afternoon, you have obviously your wine there, but you also have a really nice food options as well. Restaurant pizza is delicious and amazing. What are the hours that they can come out and see you? And if they want to visit the website to get information on the wine and different events that you have going on, what's that as well?
So our tasting room, restaurant, and our new wine garden is open Wednesday to Sunday, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. You can check us out online at Felino Estate, that's Folino estate.com, or follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Felino Estate.
Wonderful. And I definitely recommend going over to visit. The great part about Folino is they're literally minutes off of 78, but you're in a whole different world. So it's an easy drive from pretty much anywhere, but you really get this beautiful countryside and beautiful rural feel that comes across out there. So make sure you head over there, enjoy an afternoon, do a tasting, maybe grab a glass or a bottle to go home with you, enjoy some food, and really definitely include them in your trip in the area, or a wine trip through the Lehigh Valley itself. So thanks for all the information today, Darrin, and thanks for joining us.
Cheers.
Cheers. So today's show was a lot of fun as we talked about rosés, and I definitely want to thank Molly Kelly for giving us some really good information about what to expect from a rosé and what to know about a rosé. And we appreciated having Darrin from Felino Estate Winery on as well to give us some rosés as well as other wines in their tasting room to definitely check out. Whether it's dry to sweet, still to sparkling, there's definitely rosés in Pennsylvania that everybody will enjoy. And I'll be putting a bottle of rosé in my fridge so I can enjoy a glass on the porch this afternoon as well. I definitely recommend that you visit the Pennsylvania Winery Association's website, pennsylvaniawine.com. There are links to each winery's website where you can check out their hours and the wines that they have available in the tasting room. In 2 weeks, join us for another road trip. This time, we're headed to the Southeast region. It's actually home to almost 80 wineries, so a wide, expansive range. We're going to take you to one little corner of it. Our show streams live the second and fourth Tuesdays of every month starting at noon. You can watch either on Facebook or on YouTube. And if you can't join us live, you can also watch any of the programs whenever it's most convenient for you. Plus, if it's easier for you to listen, you can find Uncorked PA on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite place to stream your podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the station so you know when new episodes are posted. We want to definitely thank the Pennsylvania Winery Association for supporting this program with grant money that we get from the PLCB, and we look forward to sharing more hidden gems of the Pennsylvania wine world with you next time. Thanks and have a great day.